Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. Take two. Of course, I am the founder and editor-in-chief of thegaminggang.com. I see how this is going to go. Anyway, tonight is Tuesday, July 7th, 2020. This is episode 509 of The Daily Dope. So if this is your first time joining me, well, it's probably the second time joining me tonight because this is take two. Anyway, if this is the first time you've joined me, this is a very, very casual show, just talking tabletop gaming news for the most part. Every once in a while, a little pop culture, maybe chat a little bit about PC games, but usually it's all tabletop gaming news, such as tonight. So, do want to mention, if you like this video, please give it a quick thumbs up, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't yet, and of course, ring that little notification bell, because if you do, it will not only let you know when the Daily Dope streams live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube, it'll also tell you when I upload standalone videos as well. So, anyway, so tonight it looks like we are having some issues as far as dropping frames all over the place. It's really weird. I don't know what's going on. I thought maybe it is because I have been trying to kind of do some of the audio rendering outside of the program that I actually use to stream. But the thing is, it's really strange because it seems as if every time we start up the stream, even when we don't really have any hiccups, which we're getting some hiccups thrown in here, so it looks like we're losing about 10% of our frames right now. But it seems like this is kind of a YouTube thing. And I don't get what the deal is. It's almost as if it's a bottleneck on YouTube. And I mean, that is a possibility. But even when we have no problems whatsoever, within the first minute or so, there's always, and this is almost all the time, there's always a hiccup within the first minute. Just like if we go over an hour on YouTube, doesn't matter when we start, once we get to over an hour, we run into problems where sometimes the audio is no longer in sync, or YouTube actually chops off the end of the video. That's happened a lot lately, that we lose a certain amount of the video at the end. I don't know. So Kabuki Kid says the quality's a bit choppy, but it isn't lagging. I don't think we would run into that issue. So I should point out, because this is a live stream, that also means that there's chat available on YouTube. So if you want, say howdy. Got a question, fire away. If you got a comment, fire away. I do my best to pay attention to the chat. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But I do my best to pay attention to chat. So feel free to chime in. Right now, we do have Dan from No Enemies here. Kabuki Kid, John Vogel has also arrived as well. A Gray Day is back joining us in chat too. So thanks everybody. Thanks for hanging around with some of the issues tonight. I got to point out, I'm kind of salty today. And I'll have a little bit of an announcement after the end of the news here. I'll tell you a little bit what's going on. I think folks know by now, if something's up, I tend to share it. I tend to talk about it a bit. As yes, once again, we're hitting some frame issues, jumping up and down. See, what I don't understand is, going back to the kind of the inside baseball about the stream, it's supposed to be set at a constant bit rate, and it's set at a certain level. So the bit rate shouldn't be jumping up beyond that, but it does. It certainly does. It hasn't dropped us yet. That's when we'll really have an issue, is if it drops us. But nothing should have changed as far as the internet. So Kabuki Kid says, yes, a special salty segment today. Kind of. Yeah, sort of. A little bit. Yes, and of course there's, somebody else on Dan from No Enemies video that I did an interview with him on Sunday night who thinks they're going to come over and school me on stuff. And it's like, whatever. It's like, get bit. It's like, whatever, man. Anyway, so let's jump on into the news, because Daily Magic Games launched their Kickstarter for Shadow Kingdoms of Valyria. I've got the dope. Valyria is a rich and wonderful world that you've come to know through Valyria Card Kingdoms, Village of Valyria, Quest of Valyria, Corsairs of Valyria, and Margraves of Valyria. Actually, Thieves' Den also takes place in Valyria too, but it doesn't have Valyria in the name. Each game is unique and brings new experiences to the gaming space and to the lore of the Valyria universe. Now it's time to look at the Valyria universe from a darker perspective. The monsters are fed up with the humans, elves, and dwarves encroaching on their lands and slaying their populace. It's time for monsterkind to take back what was once theirs. Yes! Damn you humans, dwarves, and elves! It's time for the Shadow Kingdoms of Valyria. Shadow Kingdoms of Valyria is a 1 to 5 player game designed by Stanislav Kordonsky. I think it's pronounced that way. Developed by Izias, I believe it's a Vallejo. David McKenzie, hey, that one's easy. And David Izzy. And illustrated by Mihalo the Maiko Dmitrievsky. Why did you have to throw all these names in here? I had to go through this when I did my preview. At its heart, Shadow Kingdoms of Valyria is an engine-building game where you'll draft troop dice to complete battle plans, hire champions to fire up your engine, and level up your abilities to pull off amazing combos. Daily Magic Games has a Kickstarter video we are going to take a quick peek at. It's about 3 minutes long, although it looks like we almost lost our stream there, it looked like, for a second. No, man, oh man, oh man. All right, we'll see what we get out of this, and I will share the video. Hopefully, we get through this in one piece.
Those filthy humans have burned down our hovels and our nests. The elves use their ancient magics to weaken us, and the dwarves forge weapons to slay us. Now is the time to rise up and take back what is ours. Now is the time for the rise of the Shadow Kingdoms of Valyria. Visit the dark shrines to gather your minions and draw upon their power. Collect powerful gems to transform your minions into any of the 5 monster races. Gnolls, orcs, goblins, skeletons, and gargoyles. Draw magic from the ancient well to change your fate and increase the strength of your minions. Call forth champions to the fire portal to aid you in battle. Pray to our dragon deity so he may bestow riches upon you, and visit the oracle to gain a battle plan that will ensure victory. I have entrusted each of you with a map of initial targets to start this dark war. Which one of you, my most trusted wardens, will prove you're worthy of becoming the next general of the Dark Army and bring us back to our former glory. Fight back the human incursion. Become a backer today.
Shadow Kingdoms of Valyria is for 1 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, and plays in about 30 to 75 minutes. The project launched today. It is already fully funded, and you can reserve a copy of the game, which includes 2 expansions, for a $55 pledge through July 31st. Expected delivery of the finished product is going to be May of next year. I did a preview of Shadow Kingdoms of Valyria, which is on their Kickstarter page. I'm amazed. I am amazed how many previews they've got for this game. There's got to be 15 to 20. So it's like, holy cow. I was like, geez. But you know what? It's a fun game. We really did enjoy it. We had a good time with it. So if you want to actually check out my take on it, then by all means, check out the video that I've done. It's on the site. It is also on the channel as well. So Kabuki Kid says, always crazy when there are expansions for a game that's not out yet. I sort of agree with that, because then shouldn't it just be part of the base game? But what Daily Magic Games is doing, they're not doing any stretch goals. There's effectively one pledge, which is the $55 pledge to get this. So I kind of like what they're doing here. They've kind of like upgraded the components a little bit already without any kicks, any kind of stretch goals once again. So we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with it. It's super easy to learn how to play, and it's got some very cool strategic wrinkles to it as well. All right, let's move on to the next news piece, because Rio Grande Games has revealed that they're reprinting another Winsome Games 18XX. Wait a second. Am I doing the wrong order? I am in the wrong order here. My gosh, sorry about that. Arriving next week from Skybound Games and Sideshow is Court of the Dead, Dark Harvest. I've got the dope. Set in Sideshow's original dark fantasy world, Court of the Dead Dark Harvest is a strategic bidding game for 3 to 6 players, in which each player is vying for power in the Court of the Dead and struggling to save as many souls as possible from annihilation in the Celestial War. Each game round in Court of the Dead Dark Harvest has an income phase and 2 main phases of gameplay. Income, in which players receive souls and influence to spend. The court phase, in which players will attempt to win the favor of powerful members of the court to aid their cause. The harvest phase, in which players will attempt to satisfy the demands of the Celestials while saving as many doomed souls as they can. At the end of the game, the player who is able to shepherd the most souls to safety behind their player screen will win the game. Court of the Dead Dark Harvest is for 3 to 6 players, ages 13 and up, plays in around 30 to 45 minutes, and will carry an MSRP of $25 when it arrives next week. So this is arriving next week. I like the artwork. The artwork looks kind of cool. Skybound is trying to kind of branch out a little bit into, I know they did Super Fight, which to me is kind of a poor man's version of Cards Against Humanity. But it sells. I mean, people buy it. So this is a little bit different. And Sideshow does some awesome figures. Some awesome figures. So the Madman has arrived in chat. Good to see you, Madman. So Kabuki Kid, Double K's sitting there going, maybe Jeff's on the dope. Yeah, because I have things in the wrong order today. Hey, that's what happens. It's a live show. You get to see all these crazy things happen. Oh, yes. Although it does look like, knock on wood, it does look like the stream has kind of settled in there now. So Hopefully we don't have a bunch of drop frames. So Kabuki Kid says Sideshow does really nice figures. Yes, amazingly cool stuff. Love when we go to San Diego Comic-Con and get to see some of their work up close. It is phenomenal. Pricey, but phenomenal. All right, as I started to mention before, I had things in the wrong order. Rio Grande Games has revealed another Winsome Games 18XX title that they're reprinting. I've got the dope on Southern Rails. Oh, look, hey, it's the right game. Southern Rails is played on a map of the Southeast United States and is similar in style to many of the stock-based cube rail games released by Winsome Games since 2007. During setup, players spend 2 rounds selecting stocks from 2 of the 6 available companies. Then the game begins. Each turn, a player must place a track cube for one of the companies in which they have stock. The first cube of a company can be placed on any hex, while each subsequent cube for that company must be placed adjacent to another of the same color. Obviously enough, because you're laying track, right? Hexes other than Atlanta can have 1 to 3 cubes placed on them, and when a cube is placed in a city, with cities coming in 4 colors, that railroad's revenue increases by $1 to $4, depending on the color of the city. When the 10th cube of a company is placed, railroads earn points based on certain criteria: highest revenue, fewest shares owned, most cubes on the map, and most cities of a color in its network, with ties resulting in no points being awarded for a category. If, for example, both the purple and black railroads have the most red cities in their networks, then no railroad scores the points for having the most red cities in its network. Each player then scores points equal to the points scored by the railroads in which they have stock. Player order is then reassigned, and players get to select an additional stock, after which they again take turns placing cubes on the board. After the 4th scoring round, the game ends, and whoever has the most points wins. Winner, chicken dinner. Southern Rails is for 3 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around an hour. It's going to carry an MSRP of $34.95, so that makes that a nice price, because usually most 18XX games are pricier than that. I do not have an exact release date. I just know it's coming soon. So Rio Grande doesn't really share release dates all that well. Even distributors do not know exactly when this is coming out. So that's saying something. So Flaming Huron has arrived in chat. So Kabuki Kid says that map looks uglier than usual for an 18XX. Hey, you know what? Baltimore and Ohio, which is from Eagle Griffin. I can't remember which. It's same company, really. My gosh, what an ugly game that was. Oh, horrifyingly bad looking and lots of fun. Very, very cool. Very, very cool 18XX game. Like one of these no luck involved kind of games. This looks like it could be pretty cool, especially for those out there who are not familiar with the 18XX genre of games. Only takes about an hour to play. Seems to be pretty easy to learn how to play as well. So, and Kabuki Kid says, and they should quantify what they're saying by also mentioning that they like 18XX games. So do I, to a certain extent. Some of them that I've gotten into playing were so similar to each other. It was kind of like, okay, really? All right, so we're in this part of England, and it's 10 years later than the other game that we were in England for. But pretty nice, pretty cool. Like I said, and that $34.95, that is a pretty friendly price as far as 18XX games go. Let's move on over to some role-playing game news, because now available from DIY RPG Productions, do-it-yourself RPG Productions, is Barbarians of the Ruined Earth, and I've got the dope. Barbarians of the Ruined Earth is a weird post-apocalyptic fantasy setting inspired by Thundar the Barbarian. Throw in a healthy heap of Mad Max Fury Road, and a little Pirates of Dark Water, and you've got yourself a Saturday morning cartoon stew fueled by heavy metal. The players take on the role of heroes, or maybe some feisty brigands or profiteers, wandering the ruined earth, defeating evil sorcerers, beating the crap out of mutated frogmen, bashing some raider skulls, or wandering through the stinking ruins of an ancient Earth space shuttle hangar looking for bits of stupendous science. Here's the blurb from the back cover. What can I say about Barbarians of the Ruined Earth that the tasty 89 full color illustrations packed into this goddamn book doesn't already scream at you? So one thing I should point out now, I did not just make that up. That is from the back of this book. Kind of weird to say Saturday morning cartoons and then throw out goddamned book. Know what I mean, kids? I mean, aside from the fact it uses the Black Hack, has 4 classes and 4 races, each with cool abilities, starting gear, and tables to generate unique trinkets and life events, 7 sample traps, new magic system with 30 spells, new and fun equipment for the setting, including 12 weaponized animals, hireling and vehicle rules, 14 pieces of stupendous science, 60 different mutations, 18 pieces of cyberware, 11 charts and tables for GMs to use on the fly, 46 adversaries to pitch your players against, a point crawl, and the ruins of the Los Angeles area with 13 locations, all channeling the spirit of Thundar the Barbarian, Mad Max Fury Road, and Pirates of Dark Water. And it's wrapped up in a 162-page sexy package. It's sexy sex. So what else is there? Not much, I'm afraid. You can get this 162-page premium softcover at DriveThruRPG for $50, or you can just snag the PDF and get that for $15. Okay, so a Great A's asking if Mike Evans, the author of this, has done anything else. He has, actually. He has done a bunch of different stuff. You can go over and you can check out the Wrath of Zombie WordPress.com website. But yes, Mike Evans has done a bunch of different things. I have not read through any of them. But this caught my eye. Number one, the cover on the artwork caught my eye. I have a soft spot for gonzo, weirdo, sort of old school Renaissance kind of games as well. Although, funny thing is, Gamma World, people always think of, Gamma World is, like the mutated monsters and creatures and all these other things. The first edition of Gamma World was not really that gonzo and odd. It was later editions that really threw in a bunch of the mutations and things like that. So this looks kind of fun. Although I think it's, like I said, I think it's very weird on one hand to be talking about Saturday morning cartoons and then saying this goddamned book. I also should float out there that I never watched Thundar the Barbarian. So until just recently, I didn't realize that that was supposed to be set in like a post-apocalyptic setting. I just thought it was, another kind of He-Man, Masters of the Universe sort of thing. I know it was there to sell toys. I can tell you that much. So Kabuki Kid is talking about a lot of the 18XX games that she owns. Talking about a friend who owns everything. So Metamorphosis Alpha. Yeah, Metamorphosis Alpha is kind of gonzo. Not as gonzo as this sounds. Metamorphosis Alpha is an interesting game story to kind of get into. I think the last edition they did of it was kind of, well, I don't think it was so well received, even though they had the original author involved with it. But I don't know. I guess from what I understand, mechanically, it's kind of broken. So I don't know. Like I said, that is only something I've heard through the rumor mill. So going from what could be kind of dark and gonzo post-apocalyptic action, let's change gears completely with my final news piece because there is a new 5e campaign setting. It's available from Storm Bunny Studios. I've got the dope on the World of Elysia. I'm going to guess that's how it's pronounced. Campaign primer. Funny enough, Dan from No Enemies here and I had a little discussion about that word primer or primer. And I mentioned I had always heard it called primer, but I don't know. So I'm sure somebody out there is going to say, oh, Jeff, it's a primer. Anywho, in development since 2018, the World of Elysia campaign Kickstarter edition introduces 5e gamers to a futuristic campaign setting that includes a robust cast of new species, new classes, and all the space opera we could slam in the book. Filled with ideas and concepts built around Yer Meninen's vision for a new kind of gaming world, game designer and author Jay Sonia has lovingly created a tome of options for players and GMs looking for a completely different approach to playing in the future. The World of Elysia campaign primer gives GMs and players 27 playable species and any accompanying species synergies those species enjoy when they work or adventure together. Each species, how many times are we going to say species, in Elysia replaces the races of traditional fantasy games, removing much of the cultural and social assumptions about those species. Elysia's elves do not, for instance, hate dwarves. Instead, these futuristic species have evolved beyond such petty relationships. We include no mechanical benefits for hating other individual players at the table simply because of these species they've selected. 9 classes designed specifically for Elysia that players and GMs can easily export to other 5e games. These classes include the Anarchist. I'm kidding. It's the Arcanist. The Marauder, the Monk, the Ninja, the Oracle, the Scion, the Seer, and the Techer. Not Trekker, Techer. Each class comes with a new complement of associated abilities. There's a full chapter on new feats, new skills, and new backgrounds to help round out your character. Optional rules for skyship combat and 2 sample skyships. New vehicles, weapons, armor, and exoskeletons for characters. A full chapter of 5e compatible spells, including a special selection of psychic powers for the Scion class. It includes the short story Friends in Low Places by New York Times bestselling author Eric Scott Debye. Hopefully I got that right. And plenty of ideas to help change the way you play space. Built to be compatible with the world's most popular role-playing game. What could that be? The World of Elysia campaign primer gives players a radically different approach to the future. If you come expecting dark dystopias or mindless monocultures, please turn around. We've built something different for gamers. This 336-page PDF is available right now at DriveThruRPG for $29.99. Pretty sweet deal for 336 pages. Looks kind of interesting, could be kind of fun. Might be a kind of a system setting that's maybe aimed towards family gamers, right? Most family gamers don't want grimdark. So, very nice. I do believe this is also either available or going to be available in a Starfinder compatible edition. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So Kabuki Kid points out in American English, it's clear cut. A primer is a school book, and a primer, rhyming with climber, is the first coat of something like the white stuff you roll onto drywall before you put your real paints. Snag that online. Okay, but you prime something, so that means you're getting it ready. So I don't know. So yeah, so Canada Grade A says, well, if you're Canadian, maybe it's a different way. Hey, I'm just saying, I've always heard it called primer. But again, remember, I'm the guy who's like, well, okay, bestiary, bestiary, tomato, tomato, potato, potato. I don't know. I do not know. All right, so that is it for the tabletop gaming news tonight. So let me grab a quick sip here. And as I mentioned, I got a little bit of an announcement. I kind of floated this out there on Twitter today. I believe in the very near future, not immediately, but in the very near future, before this month ends, I am going to devote more time to covering role-playing games, and we're trying to review role-playing games, and a little bit less on board games. And the reason behind this, here comes the salts, it's a gray day. Reason behind it is, and once again, if you watched my interview with Dan or you followed the gaming gang for a while, you know I've been covering the hobby for, this is my 10th year. Rapidly approaching the 10th anniversary of the gaming gang. And I have worked with loads and loads of different companies over the years. Some of them I have been working with since day one. And some of these companies that I have worked with for a long time have kind of gotten to the point where, see, I don't want to start dropping F-bombs and things like that. But on the other hand, I want to drop F-bombs because it's how I feel, but I guess I won't. But anyway, some of these companies got to the point where they just expect me to cover their company. They just expect me to share news, share their Kickstarters, all this other stuff. And they no longer send anything. Or what they do send is very, just a mixed bag all the time. So, you know, I've been kind of thinking about this a little bit for a while now. Because, and the funny thing is, Dan, our conversation we had the other night kind of made me think a little bit, because he was talking about like content, right? And, you know, how do companies treat me? Because, you know, we're always looking for more content, right? And I had mentioned that I'm not the sort of guy who's like, oh, gimme. I'm not a gimme dat, right? I'm not a gimme dat guy. But I also think that, seeing that I do not do Kickstarters to keep the website around, I don't do a Patreon, you don't hear me with my hand out, right? Yeah, I had a Patreon for a little while, and it was like, whatever. And then when they changed the process and they were gonna like charge more to people who were making donations, I was like, screw this, I'm out of here. No way. I wasn't pulling in that much cash anyway. So it'd be one thing if these companies were like, well, Jeff, you know, you run a Kickstarter, you make X $1,000 a year, whatever, you know, come on, you kind of owe it to us to promote our stuff. So anyway, so I tweeted earlier today. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, I completely understand. But earlier on Twitter, I mentioned that I'm done covering AEG. And that's, for me to say that, pretty shocking, because AEG and the gaming gang go way back. Once again, they were one of the first companies to actually support us. And the reason behind this is that they've got this PR person now who wouldn't piss on me if I were on fire. And part of the problem that we're getting into in this day and age is we've got loads and loads of people covering tabletop gaming, and that's great. That's cool. Also, one of the reasons why I don't get bent out of shape when I don't get review copies of stuff, because I'm like, yeah, you know, there's only so many review copies that can go out to people. So anyway, so I have sat down with John Zinzer from AEG a few times. I have talked to Todd Rowland umpteen times, done umpteen interviews with him, and AEG had a problem with like getting review stuff out for a while, and it kind of gotten cleared up, and then once again, same kind of thing. And it was really, the problem was it was very hodgepodge how things would arrive. I would have no idea something was coming, and then I would get something, and it would usually be an expansion for a game that I did not have, that AEG had never sent a review copy of. And it would be kind of like, what do I do with this now? It's an expansion to a game I don't own. So they brought in a young woman from, I want to say she was originally with Greater Than Games, and she joined AEG. Her name was, I shouldn't say was, it is Mara. And she had reached out, introduced herself to me, and I was like, oh yeah, great. Here's what's going on. I had an opportunity to talk with her at the last Gen Con. Or no, maybe it was Gen Con before that. And it seemed like we had ironed everything out, that everything was all cool. She was super nice. And it was great. It was awesome. And some stuff from AEG started to show up. And it wasn't just an expansion to something that would be like, well, there's nothing I can really do with this except do an unboxing. Well, Mara left. I don't know where she went, but she left. And I don't know what was going on. So there's this new person. I'm not going to name him by name. There's this new guy over at AEG. And I had reached out to him. And he said, well, we're going through a new process. We're doing for our reviews and things like that. And blah, blah, blah. I'll make sure I'm going to get stuff out to you. I think, what did we get? Tiny Towns and the Tiny Towns expansion. That was basically it. We've never seen any. Now, back when Mara was around, I got the big Thunderstone quest, which was super cool. Since she left, nothing. I mean, they had that Kickstarter, the big game, because it's like everything's like John D. Clare now. The hell is it called? I can't remember. It was super, super popular. It was like the next big Kickstarter they did. Nothing. Space-based, none of that stuff. None of that stuff. So anyway, so the PR person, I don't know if people notice this, but AEG is, at noon, they've been running live games of Tiny Towns. And they've invited people in the industry to play live. So I get an invite well after, they've been doing this for a couple of months now. So I get an invite to be part of this, to play. And this new PR person points out, oh, hey, let's get you on for Wednesday, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Like, yeah, cool. Awesome. And then blows me off. Completely blows me off. So today, AEG launches their Kickstarter for, I want to say, Dead Reckoning, which I'm sure probably people who are watching are like, yeah, I'm kind of surprised Jeff didn't talk about the Dead Reckoning Kickstarter from AEG. Yeah, I've been getting emails about it constantly. About, get ready. So today I went, because I knew it started today. So this morning I went, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go pull their news, go get the video. Of course, I was not offered a preview of the game. So I'm taking a look, and I'm taking a look at all these people, all these different outlets, and the vast majority of them I'm not familiar with. But then again, I don't spend much time see what other people are doing in this hobby. I don't have time, right? And I don't look at it as like a competition either. I've talked about that before. So anyway, so I'm like, give me a break. So I was still like, okay, you know what? I'll still put the news piece out, but this is rubbing me the wrong way, right? It's like, yeah, whatever, don't take advantage of me. It'd be one thing if I was just sitting there going, oh, hey, I saw that AEG's got this Kickstarter. I'm going to go share the news. No, I am inundated with emails about this. Like, be sure you're going to share this news, when it launches. So the final straw was I was on Twitter, and AEG retweeted some person had tweeted out, they're like, hey, check out my review of Dead Reckoning that's now on Kickstarter. And I take a look, and this person has a grand total of 36 Twitter followers. I click on the link, and it's just a WordPress blog that looks like a WordPress blog. And I was like, this is where I really want to drop that F-bomb. I was like, F this. I don't need these people. It's like, give me a break. So I tweeted out, I'm done. I'm done covering AEG. Because here's the thing. 6 months from now, this PR guy, he'll be gone. Because that's part of the problem that we face right now in any sort, if we're in like gaming media or anything like that, or even if you're trying to touch base with some of these companies, it's like 1 minute somebody's there, the next minute they're gone. And nobody knows what's going on. If I were dealing with, say, John Zinzer or Todd Rowland, it'd be fantastic. It'd be great. That's not who I get to deal with. So I'm like, you know what? Done. And 6 months from now, this guy will be gone, be some new PR person, and they'll be back to square one. And hey, you know what? If AEG reaches out to me, I'll be happy to talk. But right now, no, I'm done. So, and they are not the only company that I am going to basically say, whatever. So what I am going to do is, and it was funny because I also pointed this out on Twitter, that I'm going to look to cover more role-playing games because, for one, the authors and publishers of role-playing games tend to be way more appreciative of any sort of coverage that they get, as opposed to some of these companies who are like, whatever, I don't care. Yeah, they can't even be bothered by, you share a news piece about their game, can't even be bothered to like it on social media. It's like, okay, well, I didn't have to share this, right? It's like, you're not paying for me to operate my website or shoot videos or anything like that. So anyway, so there you go. So yeah, kind of salty, but the thing is, it's just simple appreciation. That's all it is. It's not like I expect people to be like, oh, well, Jeff's old guard, he's been doing this forever. No, not at all. But when I see that, it's like, come on, really? You're sending out preview copies of this game to somebody who has absolutely zero impact on who's going to buy this game. To me, that's ridiculous. So Grade A says, it's hard work building relationships. It is. It is. And the thing is, that's part of the problem too, is you get a good relationship going with the company and then that person's gone. Like Starling Games with Brenna Noonan. Brenna Noonan was super cool, really nice. I had never reviewed any of their stuff. Started a great relationship with Starling Games. Thankfully, even though she left, that's still intact. I've got some reviews for their Everdell expansions coming up too. But yeah, it's pretty tough. And it's, you get things humming and you got people who are like, hey, yeah, really, really liking the coverage you've provided. That was a good video. Definitely like the review. Then they're gone. And the person who comes in has absolutely no clue who I am. So they don't follow up. All right. Anyway, so on a lighter note, see, I was salty, but I wasn't like, ah! It's just like, hey, I don't need to cover certain companies. Done. But I have my first look at the Arcane spell deck for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. The video is uploaded. The Starfinder flip tiles first look. If I remember right, I think a Grey Day was interested in checking these out. This video is also uploaded. I have completed my review of the Enemy in Shadows Companion. That I have not uploaded yet. And I have also completed my review of the Call of Cthulhu Keeper rulebook. Keep wanting to say Keeper's Guide. is the Keeper Rulebook. Those two videos I have not uploaded yet. So what you're going to find is the two Pathfinder videos will not be like available to the public until tomorrow, because I find now what I have to do on YouTube, you have to wait 12 hours before you can add the end screen thing or anything else. I'm like, okay. It's like, all right. Because, usually it's like, oh, I upload something, I want to share it right away. Okay. All right. So the Great A says yes. My little rant was dash friendly, low salt. I don't know. So Kabuki Kid says Call of Cthulhu last edition they own is 5th edition. 7th edition has some changes, some major changes to it. Can't say the same for previous editions. A lot of times it's just kind of a new coat of paint. I'm working on trying to get an interview with Mike Mason from Chaosium. We're working on that. He lives, I believe, in England. So we got to work on that scheduling there. So that is an interview on the horizon. I already pointed out that I'll be interviewing Dom over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment shortly as well. So other than that, really not much cooking, right? But tomorrow you will be able to see the arcane spell cards and the flip tiles for the space station for Starfinder. They're pretty short videos. So, but pretty cool, pretty interesting. I gotta admit, I guess I'm spoiling it a little bit. These spell cards will come in really handy. Now, there are 5 different decks. So there is a cost involved, right? If you're going to have all the spells from Pathfinder 2nd edition. But really frees up the game master, in my opinion. Not necessarily, I'm sure, yes, of course, it's great for players because they've got the spell card right there in front of them. But it also helps free up the game master too, because especially in a fantasy role-playing game, when you've got spells or any kind of game that has kind of magic-ish, like psionics, for an example, aspect to it, the game master has to keep all that info in their head too, because you can't expect your players to know exactly what this stuff does. Whereas if you've got these spell cards, it's going to save you a whole lot of effort as far as having to actually keep all that info in your mind as well. So Kabuki Kid says spell cards are a nice idea in games. Haven't played with them, but they see the value. So do I. I actually, after taking a look at this, so do I. And I am not, and I even mentioned in the video, I am not one of these people who is into having a lot of different accessories at my game table. So look forward to more role-playing game content. I know I share a lot of role-playing game news. I am going to try to do more role-playing game reviews, bring you more videos showing off some role-playing game items. And it might be coming from companies that you're not familiar with. So that'll be pretty cool because I won't be very familiar with them either. All right, that is it for tonight's show. As I always like to mention, if you like the video, even including my little bit of a rant, by all means, please give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell. It'll tell you not only when I upload standalone videos, but it'll also remind you when the Daily Dope streams live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. So everybody enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night / Wednesday morning. I, of course, will be back tomorrow. And as I like to close out during this time of pandemic, let me remind you to be smart, stay safe. Oh, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. And of course, if you want to catch up on past episodes of The Daily Dope, check out this playlist. And if you'd like to see what YouTube's recommending you take a peek at from the channel, just give a click right over here. Of course, I'm Jeff McAleer, and once